One reason to not overlook every NBA team for the 2024-2025 season. This is an article from Dan Favale. If I butchered your last name, I apologize. He works for Bleacher Report. We're going to be going over this article today and giving my opinions on the Western Conference teams. If this video gets enough support, tomorrow we will do the Eastern Conference teams. And if you don't want to miss that potential video, please be sure to consider hitting that subscribe button, as we are less than 30 subscribers away from hitting our goal of 3,000. At the end of this video, we are going to discuss a little bit of men's mental health, as I do kind of every month, it feels like, on this channel. If you're a woman and you want to stay tuned for that, I appreciate it. Maybe you can find some guidance, but I am a man, not a woman, so I can't talk psychologically about that. Without further ado, enough blabbering on from me. The first team on this list that is a Western Conference team is the Dallas Mavericks, and they say they improved the offense without compromising the defense. Now, that depends a lot on what you expect out of Klay Thompson at his age with his injuries, because formerly known as one of the best two-way guards in the NBA, Klay Thompson's character has seemingly been diminished on both sides of the ball, offense and defense. They are going to miss Derrick Jones Jr., especially in a series like the OKC's series. He had 3 20-point games in a row. Najee Marshall, I've given him a ton of flowers on this channel when over his time in New Orleans. I think he's going to be phenomenal. Another addition like Quentin Grimes is obviously going to pick up the slack. I think these two guys can be, replacing Derrick Jones, especially if Derek Lively steps up into the role that we kind of hope he does, alongside Luka and Kyrie. This is a team coming off a finals run. You bring in more star power, you keep the bench kind of at bay. If PJ Washington continues to do as he does, Maxi Kleber can get healthy, I think this team, their lineups, they can kind of bang with the best of them. So I'm very excited to see what they got this season. I think that's a good thing to not overlook. For the Denver Nuggets, he says the starting five will remain absolute fire. Now, I do agree with this. You lose Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, but that's just, it's time for someone to step up. Who is that someone? Maybe Christian Brown, maybe Peyton Watson. I'm not really entirely sure, but it's promising. You look at this team in all the moments of the postseason last year, even their losses. I think the one thing that you could look at was maybe stamina, fatigue. You could clearly tell that Mike Malone kind of, they just needed a little more depth. They bring in guys like Dario Saric, Russell Westbrook, guys that can kind of continue to run the floor, space the floor for Jokic. I know Russell isn't the greatest shooter. Dario, I'm more speaking on his behalf. I think also Julian Strawther, you never know. He could be an immensely talented player in the, couple games that we've seen from him where he gets those minutes. He looks good. It's going to be interesting to see what's going on with Denver, but all things considered, I would agree with this. The starting five, it does remain, well, fire, as they said. For the Golden State Warriors, they say their rotation should be deeper. Now, missing out on Paul George and Lauri Markkanen, it's interesting, because for a long time we've continued to hear this narrative: should we go for the stars or should we go for the depth? For the Dubs, they switch out Chris Paul and Klay Thompson for essentially Kyle Anderson, Buddy Hield, DeAnthony Melton. I think these are all guys that fit into the scheme that Golden State is, especially Hield and Melton, because these are guys that can shoot the ball, make quick shots, quick decisions. And Kyle Anderson, there's a reason we call him slow-mo. He's not going to follow the quick suit, but tenacious, can kind of get his money on the block, and oddly enough, when you need him to, at least, he will knock down a three-point shot. I think Brandon Pod and then Jonathan Kuminga obviously are going to be phenomenal. Trace Jackson Davis had some highlights last season, including one on Victor Wembanyama. If Gary Payton is healthy, you never know what he can teach some of these younger guys, these new guys, just kind of teach them the system if Draymond's just joshing off. I think a starting five on this team, it looks good without having to worry about if Chris and Klay are, going to perform or not. If Steph's performing and people are rebounding, I could see this team winning 45 to 50 games. Last year they win 46. It's going to be an interesting year, but I do agree that depth and rotation should be better. For the Houston Rockets, they really went bland with this one. Basically, everyone on this roster will get better. I guess I'm going to have to agree. Freddie, last year, one of the most inefficient seasons, one of the most turnovers. It's not going to be hard to improve from that, because Freddie, at the end of the day, is a championship winner. He's won a championship in Toronto. Great three-point shooter, can facilitate the basketball. They move on from Kevin Porter. Obviously, he's got some off-the-court antics. Dylan Brooks kind of coming back for a second year alongside. They trade for Steven Adams when he was injured, so he's going to come back and be healthy this year after that right knee surgery. He has not played a game since January 23rd. Obviously, Alperen Sengun, big lover of him on this channel. Pause. I've said nothing but good things about him. I'm really excited to see what Amon Thompson can do. It's going to be unique to see where he fits into this whole shindig, because Jalen Green obviously is just such a relevant piece of this puzzle. You know, with Jalen, Dylan, and Freddie, you never know where a guy like Cam Whitmore, Amon Thompson, like if their talent is going to get, lost in the sauce, or if they're going to, be like cream and float to the top. So it's going to be interesting. I think Houston's going to be really solid this year. They got a ton of depth, a ton of versatility. They're just going to have to kind of trim the fat this year and see who sticks and who doesn't. Clippers, this team should be caps, lock, defend. I think they're trying to say they're going to be locks. Yeah, on paper, it's like we lose Paul George, not really worth re-signing. But then you have Kawhi Leonard, Derek Jones, Chris Dunn, James Harden has a ton of more space on the offensive side of the ball. Nick Batum, he comes back. His tenure with Philly, everyone loved him in Philadelphia in the playoffs. He was amazing. It's going to be interesting. I've talked about the Clippers a couple times this postseason. I still am a firm believer they can win 50 games if everyone stays healthy, but that is like one of the biggest ifs of all time, so I'm going to stray from continuing to talk about that. Another team in LA, we have the Lakers, and he says the top of the roster is close. You bring in JJ, Darvin's obviously gone. It's interesting. Last season, you would believe that the Lakers would have beat anyone that weren't named Denver Nuggets in the first round, especially when you dig into the stats. The Lakers outscored opponents last year by 7.3 points per 100 possession, and this was when AD, LeBron, and Reeves were together on the floor, which proves that they're close. This team, these three guys, they kind of have the trifecta going. However, they're still clearly missing some stuff. LeBron and Anthony aren't getting younger. They need guys that can go out there. I'm not talking about Dalton. I'm not talking about Bronny. I'm talking about someone who can come in and kind of be that, piece of the puzzle, like a Derek White type of guy. I know those don't really grow on trees in the NBA, but they do exist. The offseason isn't over. I'm interested to see what the executives decide to do. For the Memphis Grizzlies, availability only goes up from here. Hopefully we see a full season of Ja Morant. I feel like people, when we talk about it out loud, don't understand how good Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, Marcus Smart, Brandon Clark, Jaren Jackson, Luke Kennard, I could keep going. This team, not only defensively but offensively, it's going to have a lot of firepower. Not to mention they draft Zach Edey from Purdue, who looks like he is number 1, I believe, or number 2 or 3 in Rookie of the Year on FanDuel. Gigi Jackson could be amazing. You never know. He's looked pretty good. He's got a couple 30-point outings in last season when he gets that PT. Kind of reminds me of Tyrese Maxey. If you guys remember way back when Tyrese was a rookie, and the Sixers had but 7 or 8 or 9 people on their roster, and Tyrese Maxey was one of those guys, and he's out there dropping 40-point balls in games where they're trying to get rid of Ben Simmons. This is way before the James Harden era. But yeah, I think Memphis is going to be good. 2 of the last 3 seasons, they were the 2 seed. In the one season, they weren't. Ja Morant missed 70 games. So yeah, let's see what the Memphis got. Moving on to the Timberwolves, they may have addressed their biggest issue. Definitely interesting. People say that the Timberwolves won the NBA draft because they trade up for Rob. I believe they got him from the Spurs, and they need someone who can create space and make difficult shots when Anthony Edwards isn't around. And the survey says that Rob Dillingham is that man. So I'm not going to speak on this because I'm not entirely informed on his game. I saw him in the Summer League. Haven't seen him much in college. We'll chalk this up to I will learn about it later. New Orleans Pelicans, we add a more dynamic offense. I would agree. DeJounte Murray, big clutch time scorer, high usage scorer, can shoot the 3-ball, can knock down open shots, can make tough shots. But most importantly, he plays good defense. DeJounte, Zion, Herb Jones, this is a pretty talented defensive team. I wouldn't be surprised if they finish top 10. I do like head coach Willie Green. I just don't know if they're going to get rid of someone like CJ or BI at some point in the season, because we're talking about a lot of talent. Zion is said to be in the best shape of his life. We're seeing these pictures float around to him. We'll talk more in a couple months. Oklahoma City, this might be the most complete team in the league. I mean, I would kind of agree with that. Caruso, Shea, Lou Dort, Jalen Williams, Chet, that's your 5. Then the bench, Isaiah Hartenstein, Isaiah Joe, Aaron Wiggins, Kaysen Wallace, Kenrich Williams. I mean, I feel like I shouldn't even say any other words. They were one shot away from forcing a Game 7. Really not even one shot, one foul call if PJ Washington wasn't fouled by Shea in that moment, but we can't play on what ifs, so we're going to move on. Phoenix Suns, goodbye turnovers. I love this title because Tyus Jones is freaking phenomenal. I'm going to try to stop swearing. Monte Morris as well. Very, very, very great. It's highway robbery. There's no other way to put it. Tyus Jones, Monte Morris, savvy veteran point guards. Tyus has one of the best assist to turnover ratios in the NBA. I'm glad that he is the, how do we say, guy to come in on this veteran, championship aspire team and just try to do it. They get rid of Frank Vogel and they now have Mike Budenholzer. I'm not sure what Mike's going to be able to do or not do for this team, but we're just going to have to see in time. Next, Portland Trailblazers. A defensive identity appears afoot. I've been seeing Portland Trailblazers Twitter going crazy recently. Danny Avdija coming in for basically nothing is really, really cool. They got a rookie who Portland fans seem to be very excited about. I am just going to keep my mouth shut on Portland, and I'm not going to say anything entirely because I've read a lot of speculation on Twitter. I don't know why my Twitter is like Portland. Maybe because I post about Brandon Roy a lot. They think I'm like a Portland fan, but I don't want to be swayed by the bias of what I've read, so I'm going to move on to the Kings. And they say the offense is so back. I agree. De'Aaron Fox, DeMar DeRozan, Domantas Sabonis, I made a whole video on the Kings. If you want to check out how I feel about that, it's on my channel. And San Antonio Spurs, 48 minutes of capable point guard play plus Wemby, year 2 equals fire. If you think Chris Paul is playing 48 minutes a game, you go ahead and pass me while you're smoking, because I'm going to say he's going to play 25 minutes a game. My boy's almost 40 years old. But I don't care what kind of vegetarian diet he's on. That ain't happening. But I am excited to see the Spurs play. I think we're forgetting about, the benefits of a guy like, Jones learning from Chris. But we'll see what they have to offer. And then finally, the Utah Jazz. We've sort of seen this movie before. Remember the start of the 2023 season where everyone kind of thought the Jazz were going to be all in on the Wemby draft? Well, we were wrong. They made a stride. They were the 3 seed at one point that year, and then they fell back down. Many of us kind of thought that the Warriors were going to go ahead and make a stab at Laurie, and then he is just re-signed, and that's not the case. So I think the Utah Jazz are going to be as mid as it gets. I love Lauri Markkanen and Kessler. I'm becoming a Sexton fan more and more as I watch him. But what do you guys think? If you made it this far, I appreciate all support as always. Real quick, just want to tap into the stuff I was talking about, men's mental health. If you or someone you know feels like trapped or lost or confused, please reach out for help, whether it's to me or a friend or a teacher or, someone in your kin. You need to be heard, whether it's in your journal or not, to a person or a mirror or something. Just get your voices out, get your thoughts out. It's not good to keep those things constrained. Just recently I lost someone very near and dear to me, and I find that just talking about it to people and having those to relate to, listening to some good music or good podcasts, maybe in relation to those feelings, I really think it does go a long way. So I love you guys so much. I hope you are all staying true to yourself. I hope you're all just staying mentally as fit as you can be. I appreciate your guys' time, and I love you. Be safe. Take care of yourself.